Helen didn't mean to fall asleep. It was just another Tuesday, sunlight spilling gently through the blinds, the scent of cinnamon toast still hanging in the air. She had her crossword puzzle open, glasses slightly tilted, her teacup still warm in her hand. But at 10:42 a.m., Helen closed her eyes, just for a moment. When she opened them, it was nearly noon, and something had shifted. She couldn't explain it, but she felt more tired after the nap than before. Her thoughts were sluggish. Her legs felt heavy. She missed her phone call with a friend. She forgot where she left the keys. Again, at dinner, her grandson said gently, "Grandma, you've been sleeping a lot lately." She laughed it off. "That's what old ladies do, sweetheart." But later that night, as she lay awake staring at the ceiling, wide awake at 2 a.m., the truth hit her like a whisper she couldn't ignore. She wasn't resting. She was fading, and no one had told her why. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Across the country, millions of older adults are falling into the same quiet cycle. A nap here, another one there, until suddenly, life feels foggier, energy dips, memory slips, the body slows down, and no one really explains why. But today we will. In this video, we're uncovering the hidden dangers of daytime napping after 60, how it affects your heart, your mind, and even your independence. But more importantly, we'll show you exactly how to reclaim your days, sleep better at night, and feel like yourself again. So don't scroll away, because the biggest change in your energy, clarity, and joy might begin with understanding the one habit that's been quietly draining it all. Let's begin. For years, Robert thought his afternoon nap was harmless. He's 74, retired, and lives in a quiet home just outside Seattle. Every day around 1:30 p.m., like clockwork, he'd settle into his favorite recliner with a soft blanket and the hum of the radio in the background. Just 30 minutes, he'd say. But it was rarely just that. Sometimes he'd wake an hour later, disoriented. Other days, he'd nap again around 5. And at night, he'd lie in bed staring at the ceiling, frustrated, restless, waiting for sleep that never seemed to come. "I guess this is just how getting old works," he once told his neighbor. But what Robert didn't know was this: the naps weren't helping. They were slowly stealing his nights and his vitality. This is a pattern that sneaks up on many older adults. You see, as we age, our sleep becomes lighter and more fragmented, often due to hormonal shifts, medications, or underlying health issues. In response, we start napping to catch up. It feels innocent, sometimes even necessary, but when naps stretch too long or happen too late in the day, they begin to disrupt our circadian rhythm, our body's natural sleep-wake cycle, and that creates a cascade of consequences: grogginess, poor nighttime rest, and a gradual decline in mental sharpness, heart health, and energy. It's a quiet trap. The more you nap, the less you sleep at night. The less you sleep, the more tired you feel. And so the cycle deepens. What makes it harder is that no one really talks about this. Most seniors don't even realize the nap is the problem. After all, it doesn't hurt. There's no warning sign. Just a gentle slip into habits that slowly dim the light inside you. But here's the truth. The goal isn't to eliminate naps entirely. It's to be intentional. To understand when, how long, and why you're sleeping during the day. Because the moment you see the pattern, you can begin to shift it. Just like Robert did. After a heart-to-heart with his doctor, he limited his naps to 20 minutes, moved them earlier in the afternoon, and added a short daily walk to his routine. Within 2 weeks, he started sleeping better at night and waking up feeling clearer, steadier, more himself. And now it's your turn. In the next section, we'll dive into something most people never link to naps: your heart. Yes, those quiet daytime dozes might be doing more than making you groggy. They might be putting strain on the organ that keeps you going. Let's talk about it. When Margaret turned 70, she noticed her mornings weren't what they used to be. She'd make her tea, sit by the window with a newspaper, and by late morning, her eyelids would begin to droop. Just a quick rest, she'd say. A short nap after breakfast, then maybe another after lunch. It felt like her body just needed it. But what she didn't expect, what no one had told her, was that her naps were quietly exhausting her heart. During a routine checkup, Her doctor noticed her blood pressure had risen, and her heart rate seemed irregular. Margaret was stunned. "But I've been resting more," she said. "Shouldn't that help?" Here's the surprising truth. Excessive or poorly timed daytime sleep may actually burden the heart rather than restore it. You see, your heart relies on deep, uninterrupted nighttime sleep to regulate blood pressure, repair daily strain, and keep your cardiovascular rhythm steady. When naps creep in for long stretches, especially late in the afternoon, they throw off your internal clock, known as the circadian rhythm. This confusion can lead to higher blood pressure in the evening, disrupted nighttime rest, and over time, increased risk of heart disease. Imagine your heart like a hard-working employee on a long shift. It expects a break at night, but if it's being nudged awake and asleep at odd hours during the day, that rest gets cut short, and like any employee under strain, it starts to suffer. The risk is even higher if naps become a daily habit rather than an occasional need. That's what Margaret learned. Her doctor helped her limit naps to no more than 20 minutes, ideally before 2 p.m., and to her surprise, her energy in the evening actually improved. So did her blood pressure and her sleep at night. The takeaway: napping isn't the enemy, but unmanaged, it can quietly wear down the strongest organ in your body. Your heart deserves better, and so do you. Now that we've uncovered what's happening inside your chest, let's shift our attention upward, toward the organ that holds your memories, your personality, your spark. Because next, we're diving into how naps may also be quietly stealing your clarity. Let's take a look at your brain. Frank was a sharp man. At 76, he still remembered the names of every kid on his old baseball team. He was the go-to guy at family gatherings when someone forgot a birthday or needed a story from back in the day. But lately, things had changed. He'd find himself walking into a room, only to forget why. He'd pause mid-sentence, searching for a word that used to come easily. And perhaps most quietly of all, he'd started to lose confidence in his own thoughts. What Frank didn't realize was that his afternoon nap routine, those 90-minute snoozes after lunch, might have been dulling the very brain he used to be so proud of. You see, while a short nap can refresh, long or irregular daytime sleep can disrupt the brain's rhythm, throwing off its most critical repair window, deep sleep at night. That's when your brain does its housekeeping. It clears toxins. It files memories. It restores emotional balance. But when daytime napping stretches too long or creeps too late in the day, your body struggles to fall into that vital stage at night. And over time, that creates a subtle fog, difficulty concentrating, forgetfulness, mood swings, and even an increased risk of cognitive decline. It's not just a sleep issue. It's a brain health issue. Frank's daughter gently suggested he start setting a timer, 20 minutes, tops. And she added something new, a brain puzzle each morning after breakfast. Nothing fancy, just a word game and a walk around the block. The change was slow, but steady. 2 months later, Frank wasn't just remembering things more clearly. He was smiling more, laughing again. He felt like himself. The lesson: your brain needs rest, not confusion. Gentle structure, not chaos. And above all, it needs you to care for it the way it's cared for you all these years. Now let's take a step back and ask, why is this habit so common in the first place? In the next section, we'll explore what causes older adults to nap more than they realize, and how to gently shift the pattern without guilt or frustration. Shall we keep going? At exactly 2:15 p.m. each day, Eleanor would make herself a cup of tea, sit in the same chair by the window, and slowly nod off, blanket tucked around her legs, TV murmuring in the background. It wasn't that she was tired from doing too much. In fact, the opposite was true. Her days were quiet. Her children lived in other states. Her phone barely rang. And after her husband passed away 5 years ago, the house felt more like a museum than a home. Afternoon naps didn't just fill time. They softened the silence. And Eleanor's story? It's more common than you might think. For many older adults, napping becomes less about physical fatigue and more about emotional emptiness. It fills the space where connection used to live. It becomes routine, predictable, safe. But here's the hidden cost. These naps don't just dull the hours, they start to dull the senses. They reinforce loneliness, sap motivation, and blur the line between rest and retreat. Over time, it gets harder to break the pattern, harder to reach out, harder to feel engaged in life. Because the longer we sleep through the day, the less we experience it. Take Mr. Harris, for example, a retired school principal who once lit up every room he walked into. After his wife passed, he started napping mid-morning, then again mid-afternoon. When asked why, he paused and said, "It's just easier than sitting with the silence." With gentle encouragement, his daughter invited him to volunteer at the local library once a week, reading aloud during children's story time. Just 1 hour. But something clicked. The spark in his eyes began to return. The naps grew shorter. His laughter came back. The lesson: sometimes what we call rest is actually loneliness in disguise. And the real solution isn't more sleep, it's more connection. Which brings us to our next question. How do we actually shift these habits, safely, slowly, and without feeling overwhelmed? Let's take a closer look in the next section. 5. Reclaiming the day. Simple steps to break the nap cycle and sleep better at night. For 76-year-old Martha, the hardest part of the day wasn't the morning. It was 3 p.m. That strange, sleepy lull where the house felt too still and the sofa looked too inviting. Like clockwork, she would lie down, just for a minute, and wake up an hour later groggy, disoriented, and wide awake at midnight. It became a loop she couldn't seem to escape. But everything started to change with one tiny decision: to sit on the porch instead of the couch. Because the truth is, most daytime naps don't happen because of exhaustion. They happen out of habit. And breaking that habit doesn't require a grand overhaul, just a few intentional tweaks. Let's explore a few of the most powerful shifts you can make to gently guide your body back to deeper, more restful nighttime sleep. First, anchor your day with light. Natural sunlight in the morning tells your body it's time to be awake. Try opening your curtains first thing or stepping outside with your coffee for just 10 minutes. That single gesture resets your circadian rhythm like nature's own clock. Second, schedule meaningful movement. Gentle exercise, like a walk after breakfast or light stretching before lunch, helps burn just enough energy to make your body crave real rest at bedtime. It doesn't have to be intense, just intentional. Third, rethink your nap trigger. If you always nap after lunch, replace it with a different ritual. Martha swapped her nap for a phone call with a friend or a short puzzle on the kitchen table. That simple substitution helped retrain her rhythm. And finally, create an evening routine you look forward to. A cup of warm chamomile tea, a good book, soft music. These cues tell your body it's safe to rest now. They're like a lullaby for the nervous system. Within just a few weeks, Martha noticed a difference. Her afternoon sleepiness faded. Her nights felt deeper and mornings less groggy. "It's like I got my day back," she said, smiling. The secret wasn't in doing more, but in doing the right things at the right times. Because restful nights aren't built in the dark, they start in the light of day. And as we step into our final section, let's look ahead. 6. The joy of waking up. What life feels like when you break the nap habit. It started with a simple journal entry. "Today, I made it through the afternoon without lying down." That's what Mr. Howard, 79, wrote on the first day he chose not to nap. Just one sentence, but it was the beginning of a chapter he didn't expect to write. For years, his afternoons had disappeared into the same pattern. Lunch, a cozy chair, drifting off with the TV humming in the background. He didn't even realize how much life he was missing until he stopped missing it. When we let go of the nap habit, something quietly shifts. You begin to notice things again. The way the light changes in the late afternoon. The way your hands want to move, gardening, sketching, fixing something. You start to feel present, not just drifting from one tired moment to the next. Howard once thought his energy was simply gone. Part of getting old, he'd say. But when he committed to staying awake during the day and improving his night's sleep, his whole rhythm changed. Within weeks, his mornings felt brighter, his afternoons more active, his evenings calmer. The biggest surprise? His joy came back, not in a fireworks kind of way, but in the quiet confidence of knowing he was living again, not just resting in between. Maybe you feel like your energy is fading too. Maybe naps have crept in slowly, like fog on the horizon. But what if your energy isn't gone, just out of sync? The life waiting for you on the other side of a restful night is fuller than you imagine. You might have more patience with your grandkids, more stamina to walk to the park, more presence for the things and people you love, and most importantly, more belief in yourself. Because reclaiming your energy isn't about pretending you're 30 again. It's about honoring the wisdom of your years, while giving your body what it needs to thrive: consistency, care, and good sleep. Now, as we wrap up, let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've explored, and the one small step you can take starting tonight. Let's bring it home. It's time for the closing thoughts, and a quiet invitation to begin. If you've made it this far, I want to say thank you. Not just for watching, but for caring enough about yourself to listen. Because the truth is, breaking the habit of daytime napping isn't about discipline. It's about hope. It's about believing that even now, especially now, your days can still be full of energy, clarity, and quiet joy. Throughout this video, we've seen how something as simple as a nap can slowly dull the edges of our life. Less movement, less connection, less presence. But we've also seen how small, thoughtful changes can bring all of that back. Personally, I believe that aging doesn't mean fading away. It means learning how to live differently, more intentionally, with more care. And when we give our bodies what they truly need, deep rest at night, gentle movement during the day, and a little sunlight in between, we don't just function better. We feel more like ourselves again. So here's my quiet challenge to you. Tonight, set a bedtime. Tomorrow, resist that long afternoon nap. And next week, see how your energy responds. You might be surprised at the strength still living in you. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What part of today's video resonated with you the most? Comment below and share one change you'll try this week. If you found this helpful, please give it a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us continue creating content that uplifts, informs, and reminds you that your best years can still be ahead. Because they can be. And they just might start tonight.